Hello, Degens. Welcome to Degenerate Takes. I, of course, am the brofict one, AJ. And joining me, as always, is the man with the numbers, the sportsbook whisperer, college basketball guru, daddy of the diamond, king of the links, Mr. Noah Engelbretson. Noah, how the hell are you doing today, bub?
I'm doing great. It's been a little bit of craziness with the MLB trade deadline. Actually, less moves than I expected there would be, but still, nonetheless, seeing where people land, who's selling, who didn't get traded. Also, almost equally as big headlines with some of those.
True.
An absolute craziness. And now I think we have a better grasp at which teams are actually trying to make playoff pushes, which versus some of those teams with pretty similar records who are kind of maybe giving up on the season a little bit.
Absolutely, Noah. And I mean, there were a lot of teams that, as we were talking about a little bit off air, confused about whether they were buying or selling. Some teams obviously selling out for the rest of the season and buying to make sure they have that final playoff push. But we got to talk about the big one. We got to talk about the big one that broke today, that being Juan Soto, officially now a San Diego Padres sending a laundry list of players, the Reds getting involved even a little bit. Noah, can you break down for me what happened exactly in that trade?
Yeah, well, first off, this is one of the biggest trade deadline trades we've ever seen, if not the biggest. I mean, this is absolute craziness. You don't see players as good as Juan Soto getting traded very often.
No.
Obviously, the Angels electing not to trade Ohtani, but yeah, boom. Soto getting traded. The biggest shock for me was Josh Bell. And nobody's talking about Josh Bell, who's having the best year of his career, hitting 301 on the season, switch hitter. He's having an amazing season. And, just Soto's so big that Josh Bell's just getting forgotten about in there. And man, the Padres absolutely stole the trade deadline. If I had to give them a grade, I give them an A++ with everything they've done this deadline. I mean, they're going to be one of the World Series favorites for the next 3 seasons at least. Now
they have to be.
Yeah, and they obviously, some of their farm guys plus a couple of the guys on their active roster involved in those trades, but nothing major. Losing Hosmer and Voit as part of those trades to first baseman, but they bring in Josh Bell, who's probably better than both of them.
Yeah.
Anyways, and then you're adding Juan Soto, getting Fernando Tatis back. The Padres have just been absolutely crazy. Josh Hader making that trade, getting one of the best closers in baseball. Man, they're really going after it. They're trying to win, and power to them when you got to compete with the Dodgers and the Giants being in your division.
Yeah.
Even though the Giants have had a little bit of a down year this year. Yeah. Wow. This was. I mean, I thought Soto was going to end up with the Padres. Obviously, there were only 3 or 4 teams in the stakes for him, but yeah. Padres making a lot of moves here at the deadline, and their World Series odds reflected that, moving from 20-1 all the way to 8-1 after the Soto deal.
And that's why you're the man with the numbers, Noah. Like I said earlier today, when the news broke and I broke it down piece by piece, I have followed baseball for so long. Baseball is my number one sport. It's my love. It's my passion. I cannot remember the last time a trade deadline was this exciting with a player like Juan Soto on the market. And not only was he on the market, but he was not going to play for his team. They offered him the deal. They had to get him gone. It was a no-brainer. And the fact that he ended up on a World Series contender, because regardless of Soto, I mean, they were firmly in the wild card spot. They were not going to catch up. They may catch up, but they're probably not going to catch up to the Dodgers, who are 12
I think they might now.
12 and a half games, bro. You think they can make up 12 and a half games in these 50?
There's more than 50 left in there. They're probably closer to 60 games.
Fine, regardless, 50, 60 games.
And
you think
their division opponents are going to have a number of games against the Dodgers, and I don't think they will, but I think there's a chance they could close that gap to potentially vie for the division. I mean, Tatis they're where they are without having Fernando Tatis all season. True. He hasn't played at all. And so you're going to get Tatis back. You've got Josh Bell and Juan Soto added to that lineup. Manny Machado's having one of the best years of his career at 30 years old, which is crazy.
Yeah.
You would have thought he might be slightly past his prime. Nope, he's having a tremendous year. And the Padres pitching has been really good all year, but their batting just got dangerous. I think they could go on a streak like we saw the Yankees do the first 40, 50 games of this season and just absolutely be winning almost every single game. This could be an exciting team to watch. It's going to be interesting. I think the Dodgers still win the division, but I think it's going to be only a 3 or 4 game difference by the time the season's done. I think the Padres close almost 10 games on them.
I would love to see that gap getting closed. I would love to see a different team from, California win a World Series. And so, yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm a Padres fan because the Diamondbacks traded away David Peralta in all of this. And he was one of the only players worth a damn on the team. So look for a lot of early September call-ups to be coming here in August for the D-backs. But enough about how my shitty organization, Noah. Let's talk about your team. Let's talk about the Twins, who actually made some productive moves going into this trade deadline. What happened exactly, and how stoked are you?
Yeah, I was going to bring up the D-backs actually just real briefly, and the fact that this is like the first year we haven't seen them be a seller. They weren't a buyer in the market, but they weren't a seller. They didn't ship off any of their players who've been playing decent this year. Diamondbacks have a lot of really good pitchers. If they can,
they have Zach Gallen.
Yeah, they've got a couple good pitchers, a couple young good batters, and I think the Diamondbacks are finally looking to like build on what they have. Is what I take that as, but I may be wrong. Who knows? To the Twins, yeah, they, 2 trades today. Getting actually more than 2. Twins are adding three pitchers to their lineup. Made a trade for Michael Fulmer from Detroit. Interesting always to see an in-division trade. Adding Tyler Mahle from the Cincinnati Reds, who have pretty much sold out their entire team.
Oh yeah.
At this point. And then also making a trade with the Orioles for Jorge Lopez, an all-star closer, which is one of the biggest needs the Twins have had this year. So really fortifying that just pitching staff with a reliever, a closer, and a starting pitcher. I'm happy to see that because that's, obviously a huge point of need for the Twins. I still don't expect anything super crazy. So my excitement level's at a little bit. I'm a little excited, and that's about as far as I can go, AJ, because we're probably going to win the division, make the playoffs, and then get swept in the first round like we always do.
Oh, 100%. So. You love to see it. Love to see the Twins being the Twins. But Noah, now let's talk about a trade that kind of makes sense, kind of doesn't make sense. I was at least shocked by it when I saw it at first. That being Joey Gallo. Going from the Yankees to the Dodgers, you don't really see 2 division leaders making trades with one another. I didn't really get into the nitty gritty of the deal, but bottom line is Joey Gallo's going to the Dodgers. Hasn't been playing well most of the season. We know what he can be. We know what he was. Do you see him kind of regressing, or can maybe he sees this as a new breath of life? This is all new to me. I'm out in sunny California. I'm getting my vitamin D every day. And now I'm going to start hitting dingers left, right, and center and not batting 110 or whatever he's batting.
I don't see Gallo being a success at all. I think the Dodgers are going to try him out a little bit. I don't think he's going to play very much for him like it's been for the Yankees. Yankees end up getting a, pitching prospect from the Dodgers for Gallo, which is, I think the Yankees won that trade. Just they're dumping Gallo's salary that the Dodgers now have to eat. Not that either team really cares about money, but the Yankees at least getting a pitcher who could potentially be something in the future in return for Gallo, who has been striking out more than anybody in baseball when he is playing. And yes, he has home run power, but when you're batting 150 or 160 and striking out more than 50% of the time, that's not good. No. That's just not good.
Not good at all. Not good. I mean, Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, if you're in a slump, you're in a slump. And if you're in a slump for the ages, you're in a slump for the ages. A new team may not, address that
Uh,
need or situation whatsoever. But
yeah,
eh,
my thing with that though is at what point is it not a slump anymore? Like when you're on a year and a half of not playing good baseball or a full year of it, like that's not a slump anymore. That's you're just
sure, you're slumping still. That's a slump. You can always come back from it.
I suppose maybe he needs a new hitting coach or something like that,
Maybe, and that'll be the
or new
change,
eyes.
and that'll be the change that finishes it. Noah, another big name, kind of on the move. Syndergaard leaving the Angels, forgetting where he's going. Where is he heading off to? And I mean, he's been an okay pitcher. Is he going to make a difference?
So this deal, the details have not been announced fully yet, but the deadline did pass about 15 minutes ago. So Syndergaard going to the Phillies for outfielder Mickey Moniak and potential other players or cash considerations. That deal, like I said, hasn't fully been announced yet as of when we're recording this.
Fair enough. Fair enough, Noah. Last big thing that I really have on this trade deadline is the Giants and Red Sox kind of not really knowing what they're doing here, kind of trying to figure it out. What did you make of their moves this year? And do you think they helped themselves in becoming contenders whatsoever?
So those were two of the three teams that kind of baffled me a little bit with this trade deadline. Giants and Red Sox, as well as the other team being the Orioles, all of them kind of hovering right around that 500 mark, definitely within striking distance of wild card spots, but not quite in them right now. The Red Sox were the weirdest. They fully didn't know if they were buying or selling. You had some players coming in, players going out from the Red Sox, just kind of net zero moves in my opinion. I don't know what they were trying to do there. Giants seemed like they were kind of selling a little bit and they were maybe going to sell. And then then they only move one player out and, Rodon was expected to be traded and they kept him because, there's rumors that he's not the best locker room fit, even though he's a really good pitcher this year. So it was weird for me with the Giants. They didn't get any better, but they didn't like sell anything off. And so it's like, I don't know what they're trying to do. Just finish, 5 games outside of the wild card spot is what it seems like, which is a weird goal. You would think you would try to at least beef up your prospects in your future by trading away maybe some people who have contracts expiring in a year or two. But who knows? It could be a thing where they think this is just a down year and they're going to bounce back and be really good next year. And then, Baltimore, the other weird one for me. One of the biggest surprises of the season, the Baltimore Orioles being 51-51. They only won 52 games last year. So if they win tonight, they'll match that win total. And they're selling. They're 2.5 games outside of a wild card spot, and they've been selling off a number of players. Trey Mancini, like we said earlier, trading away their closer to the Twins, who's an all-star, trading away a couple others, but they got a big haul of prospects, AAA, AA prospects in return. So this might have been a move. This makes more sense than the other two teams in Baltimore saying, you know what, we've been playing really hot lately, but we might not make the playoffs, and we're still in a rebuild, but we're like right knocking on the door of being a perennial playoff team. And so I think Baltimore makes a lot more sense for me, adding a bunch of prospects that the Orioles could be a good baseball team in the next 2-3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the organization has finally got everything kind of steadied the ship a little bit with this run this year and kind of rebuilding, as they admitted they still are. And that's why they got a lot of prospects. With the Giants and the Red Sox, though, with these net like zero gains, you know what I mean? Like with them just kind of trading players of equal value, not really getting better, not really getting worse. I think it has a lot to do with just trying something new. I don't think it's like any master plan or anything. I think it's this guy's playing okay here. This guy's playing okay there. Maybe they just need to change the scenery, swap it around. You never really know, especially baseball is such a mental game. And so maybe it just takes this guy saying, I've been playing so shitty here in San Francisco. Maybe if you know what I mean? You never know with baseball, especially because it's such a mental game. It's a game of failure, but you never know. I understand it a little bit more than the Orioles, I will say. I get why the Orioles are doing it since they are in a full rebuild. However, like you said, they're 2.5 games back from the wild card. Make a fucking run now. You got the boys there. You got the team there. Let's make a run at it. Fuck next year. They should have been an F them pick situation and get your ass to the wild card. But of course, I'm not a GM. And if I was a GM, I'd probably be billions of dollars in debt because I just pay everybody and go into Chapter 11 bankruptcy my second day there. But that's not my problem because I'm not a GM. I really think the Orioles should have kept the group together and waited until the off season to make some moves so they could see where they really needed to improve. Like you said, they have been playing, but they're one game away from tying how they were last season. And unless they lose every game the rest of the season, they're going to do monumentally better than they did last season. I don't know why you would break up that group. And
they would have to lose 60 in a row to finish worse than last season,
which is not impossible. It's not impossible. Let's be real.
To lose 60 straight. I mean, unless you're trying to do that, it's pretty fucking impossible. Maybe I won't say impossible because nothing's impossible, but it's extremely, extremely improbable for that to happen.
Extremely improbable. Probably not going to happen. It's a fucking possibility, though. I don't understand why you would trade away the boys that are doing well.
They'll still win 75 games this year, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Even with trading away some of their bigger pieces, I think they still win 70-75 games by the time it's all said and done.
They got a solid enough bullpen and the bats can get hot enough to where they can definitely win games. But, you know, I am not for breaking up something that's working. I've never been a fan of that. That's why the D-backs piss me off to all fucking belief all the time. But, you know, it's one of those things, especially in baseball. If something is working, you just got to stick with it and I think play it out. But fuck me, I'm not a general manager, right? No, I'm just some degenerate who talks into a microphone all the time. But with that swig of the beer and everything, Noah, do you have anything else to say about the trade deadline? And it's over, so we're not going to see any more moves this season. But anything you're looking out for? Anything you're seeing?
I do just want to throw in some of the moves that the Astros have made. Just the big one, adding actually not. Sorry, let me collect myself real quick too. Astros and
PGA, you're getting rough now, Noah. Come on, let's get
Astros and Braves, two teams that are both kind of contenders for this season, making a trade. Astros sending Will Smith, the relief pitcher / closer, to the Astros. He was a huge part of their World Series run last year, and Astros sending Jake Odorizzi to Atlanta. So a little relief pitcher for starting pitcher swap there. Braves also adding Robbie Grossman from Detroit. So it's always interesting this time of year. You see which teams are really trying to make a push for a potential World Series and which aren't. And so it's always interesting. I find it more interesting the teams that don't make any moves at the deadline.
Yeah.
Because that's just the nature of how baseball is. And you know, it's interesting to see some teams who are like in wild card contention just giving up, essentially.
No, 100%, dude. 100%. It makes no sense. That's what we're seeing with the Orioles. But yeah, I mean, it was a hell of a trade deadline. One of the more exciting trade deadlines I've seen in a while, especially when it comes to the MLB, which stays pretty stagnant, especially towards the deadline. People kind of know where they're going to end up for the season. But shout out to Juan Soto. He's going to get the bag out there in San Diego.
Go get your ticket now, Padres World Series.
Padres World Series.
Or maybe wait a couple days for it to like calm down and maybe the odds like shift back a little bit. But
hey, unless they start ripping off wins once he gets in there, then you're going to start seeing them at 7-1, 5-1, and really soon 2-1. But with that being said, if you like the show, please Like, share, subscribe down below. Hate to beg, but help us fight that YouTube algorithm. It's been kicking the shit out of us recently. And, follow us on the Twitter, the show at DGen Takes, myself at Perfect One, and that guy at N_Engelbretson, or for all of his best bets. And, honestly, hop on the fucking money train at Engel Money Train. Chew fucking chew. He's got the best picks around. I mean, it's unbelievable what this guy does on the diamond. I don't call him, he doesn't have a laundry list of nicknames for nothing. All right. He is good at all these sports and he's a hell of a gambler. With that being said, we also have merch. So buy merch, help support the show, help us pay the bar tab that we're going to run up in a couple weeks. And yeah, with that being said, I've been the Perfect One, AJ. That's been Money Train Noah. This has been the trade deadline, and we'll see you next time on